Hello and welcome to another live stream. If somebody is in the audience and wants to let me know how my audio is sounding in the chat, that would be much appreciated. And we can get started with our main event. I'm assuming that's you, Ezra. Okay, thank you. I appreciate knowing that. Okay, so we'll give this a few minutes for people to trickle in, but then I'm gonna get started pretty quick here. Let me turn the music off. Okay, that's what I meant to do anyways. All right, Tony, welcome. Yes, I did receive the package. I've been a little busy, but I did mean to send you an email. I apologize for that. So, all right, so I was having trouble coming up with a topic for today, so we are going to do something that I've done before using Ubuntu, but we're going to use Linux Mint today, which, as many of you probably know, is based on Ubuntu. We're going to do an OEM install. So basically, what this does is it's an alternative install for manufacturers or people that are repurposing PCs, such as if you're going to sell it on eBay or Facebook Marketplace or what have you. And instead of adding a user and telling the buying party what that user is and what the default password is, it's giving you an out-of-box experience. So the same type of experience that you'd get if you were buying a machine from System 76, Tuxedo Computers, if you were buying an HP with the preloaded Pop OS, or if you were buying a Dell Developer Edition XPS machine with Linux installed, you'd get what is referred to as the out-of-box experience, and Windows has this as well, right? So this is kind of cool because it gives us the ability to make that person receiving the Linux computer feel a little special. So I'm going to go ahead and bring on my screen here, and maybe we'll put me down in the corner, and we'll go ahead and kick this off. And so the key here is when you get to the initial boot menu, you want to select the OEM install for manufacturers. And this will boot up, and we can continue through this. So, provided it decides to cooperate with me today. There it goes. All right. So I've been playing around with this a little bit. I've actually got a couple of computers that I'm in the process of at least considering loading them up with Mint or Ubuntu, loading them up with a distro that supports this style of OEM install, and then making them available to kids that might need a computer. I've come into some equipment lately, and I just don't have room for all of this stuff that I've been acquiring. And so if I can put a computer in the hands of uh, a young person that can use it and is eager to learn, then that's great. Okay, so here's one of the first differences. You've got to set a temporary username. Um, Actually, this part is you're setting a unique name for this batch of systems. So we're just going to say Mint OEM and say next, or continue rather. Keyboard layout, this stuff is pretty standard regardless of what OS you're installing. You're going to have to select the keyboard and the time zone and all that fun stuff. Good to know, Ken. I tend to like Pop OS a little bit more, but Mint has a special place for me. Install the multimedia codecs. Sure, let's get those installed and ready to go. So, yeah, like I said, this is pretty easy to do. And it gives you a leg up, if you're selling on eBay or some other marketplace, over those uh, people that want to set a default password and supply that to you. And in all honesty, if I were to receive one of those computers, the first thing I'd do is wipe it. I'd rather receive a computer with nothing on it than have somebody else preload um, with a password. So I'm just going to accept erase disk. There's nothing on it. It's a virtual disk. Um, let's see. Try to keep up with chat. Tried Pop OS. It was okay for me, but I really like Mint. Yeah, I can respect that. Um, what's the fun of running Linux if you can't have your own choice? And there are plenty of options out there. Okay, this is for time zone. New York is fine for where I'm at. Okay, so the user screen. This is where it's going to be a little different than a normal install again. Um, the name is already filled in. OEM configuration temporary user. You can choose the computer name. We're just going to say Mint OEM, and I'll give it a password and move forward with that. Now it's going to copy the files. We'll reboot, and then we can do a few customizations. There are a couple things that I like to have preloaded on a Linux system if I were going to supply this for people or to people. One of those would be the Microsoft TrueType fonts, which, if you have those preloaded, it actually increases compatibility between LibreOffice and Microsoft Office because the standard Microsoft fonts will be there. People don't seem to understand that one of the biggest issues for compatibility between the two is not having the same fonts available by default on both platforms. And so we can take care of that real quick and easy during this. And the other thing that I don't know about what everybody else feels about it, but one of my pet peeves in Mint is that when I'm typing in a password in the terminal, it puts up asterisks. And I don't know of any other Linux distro off the top of my head that does that. And so I like to turn that off. And it's just a matter of deleting one file, and you don't get any more asterisks. So, you know, that may not be an annoyance for everybody. I've been around Linux for about 25 years now, and Mint was the first one that I remember seeing those asterisks in. And so, yeah, I like to turn that off. um, let's see. Yes, we can do that, but other people struggle to install OSs. Yes, but at the same time, if you're going to sell uh, a computer on eBay and you struggle to install an OS, just wipe the drive. Just wipe the drive. Um, you know, this process is easy enough that if you're going to install Linux, you should be able to follow through this. And they're honestly, I'm not the only one that's done an OEM install video for Mint and Ubuntu, and I think there might be a couple of others that have this feature as well. Um, Hello, Chris. Welcome. So, I hope the weather is okay down there in Texas. We got some storms coming through here last night, and there's supposed to be more storms today. So it'll be interesting. I'm not sure if the power went out last night, but I did have at least one of my computers that had rebooted itself between the time I went to bed last night and when I sat down this morning to do some work here in the office. So we should be closed in on the end of this install, or first phase of the install. So just as an update on the i9 system, I've had it up and running a few times now. Um, I'm still playing with configurations. Um, I wasn't really happy with the way Proxmox was running, so I decided to play with some desktop Linux distributions. Pop OS runs pretty nice on it. I'll probably test out a few others once I get it moved into the office, which is still out in the other room currently. But once I get it into the office and can do video capture directly from it, I may run some benchmarks before I revert back to Proxmox and try to get the settings honed in a little bit closer to what I want long term. So any questions from anybody in the chat? Any big projects anybody's working on, or any suggestions for topics for upcoming videos? I guess one thing I would like to bring up, a while back I covered ViewScan in a video. ViewScan, as you can see, supports over 7,100 scanners. And so this is a cross-platform software, runs on Linux, Mac OS, and Windows. I got a comment yesterday, and I think somebody was misunderstanding the payment options. And this person suggested that you had to pay monthly or yearly. And so, yes, this is an option for monthly payment. They still have the one-time payment option. I bought the professional edition more than 10 years ago. This allows you to use it on up to 4 computers. They don't have to be the same OS on them. This gives you document feeders and film and slide scanner availability as well. So I did address the question or comment that he left me. And I quoted this section here. Subscription is great if you have a project that you want to do and only need ViewScan for a short period of time. The one-time payment option is great if you have occasional needs or don't care too much about receiving updates. You'll receive 1 year of free updates and usage of the version you paid for indefinitely. So again, that is a tweak to their licensing. But even if you update for the year, unless you're switching scanners, you don't need to pay for it again. So, just I wanted to address that on camera and make sure that everybody understood that. Now, the question I have is, what if you purchased ViewScan before they made this change to the pricing scheme? Are you grandfathered in to updates indefinitely? Or do you have to start purchasing the updates after that year? Because, one factor for me is that I purchased, a decade or more ago, and that was before Apple Silicon existed. And in that time, they have not only brought out They've not only brought out an Apple Silicon native version, they've also released a version for Raspberry Pi. So something to think about there. But anyways, it's a great piece of software. I wholeheartedly recommend it. Very powerful features above and beyond what you get with the free Sane front ends on Linux. So, all right. Make sausages in pajamas today with tortillas, mustard, and ketchup, and carrots with onions on the side. That actually sounds pretty good. Too bad you're so far away. Price is not bad, especially in a work environment. I budget for all software. Yeah. So, like for me in the at the library, I'll bring that back up again here real quick. Whoops. Come back here. So the cool thing is, like for me at the library, we don't have a film or slide scanner. So for $60, I know it supports the scanners we've got. We've only got 2 scanners, and until we replace those scanners, we wouldn't have to purchase the software again. And this software is infinitely better than what comes with Canon scanners. I hate to say it, but if Canon is listening, their software is garbage. All right, so does Proxmox backup server do file level restores or images only? As far as I know, it's images only. I don't believe there's an option for a file level recovery. That might actually happen over here. Let's see. Maybe there is a file restore, because my backups are in fact stored on Proxmox backup server. All mounts failed or no supported file system. So it looks like you could. I don't even know what I've got on here. So you can go in and download Git, for example, and yes, you could do a file level restore, but you kick that off from the Proxmox VE side rather than the backup server side. I hope that makes sense. That's a scenario I've not tried, honestly, Chris. So that's I guess how I would approach it if you needed to restore something. Now you may have to, if you're restoring to a different Proxmox server, you may have to restore a whole image first and then restore other files if it comes down to that. Again, this is not a scenario that I have really thought of before. And while I have tried to dig through the documentation for Proxmox backup server, I didn't see exactly this scenario as an example. So Barracuda backup appliance renewal is coming up. Was curious if Proxmox could do file level. Yeah, so hopefully that helps. I use file level for users a lot. Yeah. So yeah. Okay, well, hopefully that helps. Let's come back here and see. We've got to be coming close to the end. This would have been much faster if I had the new Proxmox server up and going right now, but we'll make do. Hopefully this will be the last time. And then we can hopefully get content kick-started again with more stuff coming out. And this can save me thousands. Well, good. I'm happy to hear that. So I guess the exciting news in my world the last couple of weeks is that the library board is all of a sudden got a fire lit, and they want to get a loan to do the remodeling on our building. So that will be exciting, and if they can get that locked in, we may be probably in the spring moving to a temporary location, and then it'll be about a year or 18 months of construction on the existing building to be able to use the second story, which is currently just storage at the moment. It'll also make our building fully American Disability Association compliant. We'll have an elevator. We'll have additional bathrooms and things, so it'll be very nice. And I even get a real server room, albeit a tiny one, but it is a server room. I just need to make sure that they're not putting it in the janitor's closet, which I have seen some places do. Why they thought that was a good idea to have a mop sink within 10 feet of a server rack, I don't know, but I have seen that at my previous employer. And I also want to make sure that they have proper plans for the air conditioning going to that room. So it's going to be a tiny server room, but at least if I need to get away from the coworkers, then I can go stand in the server room and be at peace for a few moments at least. Because you've got to do maintenance and check cabling and all that fun stuff. So yeah, that's kind of exciting. And yes, Catherine, I agree. Tiny is better than none, and none is what I've got currently. Okay, so we're finally to the end of the install. We're going to say restart now. And while that's doing its thing, I'm going to jump to the hardware tab and take out the virtual optical disc. And hopefully this is going to cooperate. Usually it comes up with there we go. It comes up with a notice to remove the disk, but I was ahead of it. Okay, so this will boot back up. We will log in using the temporary password I set. And then we can make a couple of changes. I'm only going to do, I think, 2 of these just to save some time. And that should probably take us to about 12:30 by the time we get everything wrapped up and we save an image to the NAS and then restore it to another machine. All right, so we're going to open up a terminal. All right. Excuse me. All right. So we're going to update this. I'm not going to run all the upgrades. I'm just going to install my 2 packages, but I just wanted to refresh. So we're going to do sudo apt install qemu guest agent and ttf ms core fonts installer. See if that comes through the way I think it will. And then the last change we'll make, just open up a new tab. And we're going to do sudo rm-f etc sudoers.d/0 pw feedback. And we're just taking that out completely. And we can get out of that terminal session. We're going to say OK for this. And it is in fact installing the TrueType fonts from Microsoft and the QEMU guest agent. So that's doing what it's supposed to do. Good morning, David. Welcome. Catherine, the OEM version is just an option in the install menu. When you boot off the ISO image, so let me right here. So if you go to Linux Mint and you go to download, pick a desktop, whatever makes you happy, do download again, and grab the ISO image from whatever location is closest to you. And they've got them all over the place. So, you know, maybe you pick on Brazil and download from there, and that might be the closest one to you. I'm not sure. But when you start up the install, there's an option. I think it's 2 down from the main option for OEM install or manufacturer install. And then you just push through the process that we've done here today. Okay, so we've got the initial changes made. And so we're going to say prepare for shipping to end user. Now, those of you who live in the Windows world and have prepped images for pushing out to multiple computers, this is basically a Linux equivalent of sysprep. So it asks for authentication. It says OEM config will run the next time the system boots. All right. So from here, we can shut it down. And come back to hardware. We'll add our Rescuezilla disk in, and we'll double check the boot order, which we want to make the virtual optical disk the first one. And then we'll restart this. English, start Rescuezilla. Okay. All right. So we've seen this process before. I'll at least start the process, and then I'm going to kick over to the other Proxmox machine, and I'm going to use an image that I already created with similar changes, and we'll restore that back and go through the out-of-box experience. But we'll get this at least kicked off here first. All right, so back up. Select the drive, next. All the partitions, next. Shared over network. Enter the address of your device on the network you want to back up to. optionally change the version of SMB protocol. Okay, next, browse. I typically make a new folder, Mint OEM demo. Say OK. Next, to start the backup process, gives you the file name, and I've been using bzip2, which is one of the newer features that have been added to Rescuezilla 2.4. So I'm going to set it so that it's a little faster, but it's still getting compressed. And then we continue on through. It'll do the backup, and then you can deploy that image out to another VM or physical machine. So this is over here. Mint 21 demo. And make sure, yep, I do have Rescuezilla in there, so we're going to just start this process and do this in parallel with the other image that's running, and this one's going to restore, and it should go a little faster than waiting for the other one and then doing the restore. So, all right. So again, it'll boot right into the Rescuezilla app. This time we're doing a restore over the network. And we're going to choose the newest one. We're going to browse. Okay. So the one we want is Mint 21 OEM. That's the one I did on Friday. I'm going to say OK to that. That is, in fact, the image. That's the drive we're going to restore to. All the partitions. We're going to overwrite the partition table. And yes, we're sure. And that should take 2 or 3 minutes to push that down. So meanwhile, our other one is about 36% through the backup process, which is all right. And it's good to go. So one thing I do want to take a quick look at, and I think that's on this machine right here. If we come down, this is my DAF file VM. So if I wanted to come here and say file restore, I could dig down into this, probably under user and then music, and then I could restore, for instance. I could download a single file, and we'll just put that in music. And that's supposed to be downloaded. Does in fact show there in music. open it in VLC player. Okay, hopefully I don't get a copyright strike for that. But that did let me do a download. And I really hope I don't get a copyright strike for that. If I did, I guess I can edit that out and it'll be worth it. No harm, no foul. So this one is just about done restoring. It's reinstalling Grub. And we should be just about done. Updating init RAM FS, if any. I probably should have picked a more obscure band than Rush. But hopefully I caught that and turned down the volume in time. But yeah, it seemed like a good demonstration. All right, so once this is done, here we go. Refreshing partition table. Okay, next we can close that. Shut down Rescuezilla. That is down. I'm going to remove the ISO. And then we can reboot. And so, of course, one of the things that this handles, if you're using a VM, is it handles making sure that you're not like saving MAC address information, for instance. But when this comes up for the first time, which will take just another 20 seconds, 5 seconds, it starts right off with system configuration instead of system installation. So what you would expect unpacking a computer and setting it up for the first time. Continue. It asks for keyboard, time zone, your name, continue. And then I can do 2 quick demonstrations to show that it did in fact take our modifications. Now this being a different image, I did actually a few more modifications to this when I did this on Friday. So this has a few other pieces of software installed. It also has all the updates done as of Friday when I was running this as a test run through. At the time, I wasn't sure whether I was going to do this for a live video or wait and do a pre-recorded video of this But since I couldn't come up with a better topic for today, this is what everybody ended up with. Okay, applying changes, and we can take a look at details. And this should just take a few minutes. It's certainly quicker doing it this way and having an image like this prepped than it is to have somebody go through the complete install when they're getting a machine. So, you know, I've been tempted on multiple occasions to take a stab at selling a machine on eBay. And putting, you know, in the description that, you know, it is going to default to an out-of-box experience when you set it up the first time. So one of the things to verify is that we have no asterisks. The other test we can do is if we come to Office and LibreOffice Writer, I'll turn off the tips, close this. If we look for Arial, that apparently did not save that. Interesting. Okay, so maybe I've got some work to do on this image before it's truly ready for a deployment like this, but nonetheless, I resolved my pet peeve in the terminal and I got rid of the asterisks, so that's a good thing. And our backup over here has completed, so we can go ahead and close that and shut down that machine. So, yeah, that's the big thing I wanted to get through today. I had not seen anybody take a stab at the OEM install for Mint for the new 21 Mint 21 release. So I think this covers that gap in content, and hopefully people got a little something out of this. If you did, it would be much appreciated if you'd like the video. Thank you, Catherine, for asking for people to do that already. So, yeah. Just for the sake of argument, I do have some ideas for some videos coming up. I may revisit this in a shortened version for the Mint OEM install, but I have not done an OEM install video for Ubuntu since I think version 19.10. Maybe it was 20.10. I'm not entirely sure. But since this year saw an OEM, or a LTS release, the 2204 release was an LTS release, I will likely do a video on the process, which is nearly identical to this, but for Ubuntu. There has been a recent release of Kali Linux, And the thing that intrigues me there is that they have a test lab feature included in their ISO image. So I'm kind of interested to run through that and at least talk a little bit about what features are available and how, if you want to practice, shall we call them penetration testing skills, you can do so in a contained environment in a completely 100% legal way, since it's all your equipment. And, it's one of those things that I think that might wait until October for Cybersecurity Awareness Month, but there might be a sneak peek out before then. And also, I want to take a look at AdGuard Home. I put a poll up recently in the community tab here, and it looks like, make sure I can do that. Looks like 67% of people that responded prefer Pi-hole to AdGuard. Now, I've watched some videos on AdGuard, but I've never actually tried it myself. So I kind of want to do a video on it, play with it a little bit, and it may turn into a showdown video between the two. I'm not entirely sure. But that would be another topic that would be on my list of videos to make. So all right, let's catch up with chat. Okay, so no live stream tonight for David. He's got some OBS issues he's working through. So we're looking like 2 weeks from today. And that sounds great. Started filming a video of what I'm going to do to go to 4K. Have everything I need, just need to shift things around and properly set up OBS. Very nice. I'm behind on so many videos that I have all the parts for due to being very busy with my day job. Yeah, I know the feeling, and we've got some. We got a new director earlier, in June, and so I've had a little bit of extra stuff going on related to that. And I do at least have some direction on a project that I had started working on over the past year, because I just had my annual review. And I'd started working on a disaster recovery plan for the library, at least from an IT perspective. And we talked about that in my annual review, and I'm going to focus on one particular section of it that needs to be completed before the others, many of which I'm going to need to sit down with at least the director and perhaps some others to get all my T's crossed and I's dotted. But things are progressing on the DRP. I've also got a master documentation file that I'm working on that has some screenshots and walkthroughs and other information that, you know, if I got hit by the proverbial bus, somebody could take my documentation and at least make some sense out of the environment that I've been trying to build up over the last 3 years, and you know, straighten out from some things that the previous person did that I don't believe were quite up to snuff. But you know, in his defense, he was only in that position for like 9 months. So, 8 months, maybe 8.5 months, something like that. So, yeah, I'm hoping that that will start falling into place. I've got some new computers at the library that I need to start getting set up. Unfortunately, we don't have the available infrastructure to do imaging on those machines the way I would like. So it's going to be one at a time setup, and I will be running Winget for installation of a lot of the software, which, yes, I know Winget is still considered beta-ish software, but it's been really, really solid for me, and it's going to make my life so much easier keeping things updated by installing it on those new machines, which are all Windows 11. So it'll be, again, interesting to have a mixed environment where 5 of the public computers are going to be Windows 11 and 5 of them are going to stay on Windows 10 for another year. So that will be an adventure, I'm sure. So, in my recent mid-year review, we talked about how the team is collapsing. I told him he better hire someone else that knows network security. He can't say I didn't warn him. Yep. Well, I think I'm going to be sticking around the library until at least the spring. I've had a couple jobs pop up that I've been kind of interested in, but we've got a coworker going out on maternity leave in another month and a half ish. So my thought was to minimize the disruption and stick around until at least she comes back in January. Unless she decides to spring on us that she wants to be a stay-at-home mom, and then I might have to wait for a replacement person to come in. But we'll see. We'll see. If we get the green light on this big loan for the renovation project, I might just stick around a little bit longer, because I know I'll be able to be somewhat involved in the process for that when it comes to getting everything wired up and ready to go for the new layout of the building. So that would be kind of exciting, and just a way to leave my mark a little bit on the library. Hard to believe that with a team of just 4, spends 80% of his time traveling around to our sites throughout New York. Kissing up to VPs and complaining that he has too much work himself. I can retire anytime I want after the 30th of this month. I'm hoping the economy picked up some more by the end of the year to improve my largest 401k. That's a fair thing there, David. I've tended not to look at my 401k too much over the past 6 months because it is a little on the depressing side. But I also I either need to change jobs so I can start a bigger contribution back into my 401k, or I need to get full time at the library. That's 3/4 time, and doing a little bit of YouTube stuff on the side is not making my 401k a very happy camper. Hello, Colette. Thank you for watching. So, all right. Any final questions, comments, topic suggestions? I'm open to anything at this point, and I'm just thankful that even with the short notice on this live stream happening today, that people decide to show up. Well, that's awesome, David. I'm glad I can make a little girl happy. So, all right. So, I guess that wraps up things for today. I don't really have anything else that I had planned to cover. I guess my Proxmox backup server is approaching the 50% mark on the bigger of the drives that are in it. Probably sometime in 2023, I will move on to a different machine for the backup server. I've really been quite happy with my little B-Link box that I've mentioned on here before that came with, oh, that's not it. B-Link that I've shown on here before, and it looks similar to this. This is the newer model, but they've got some lower powered units that, well, and here's one of them. Price starting at $279 for 8 gigs of RAM, 256 gig solid state. And I believe most of these models have room for a 2.5-inch solid state drive as well. So maybe this one doesn't, but it does have a maximum 2 terabyte for the hard drive. That's just a little dual core with hyper threading. Some of the units do have a spot for a 2.5-inch drive, and that would make quite a little backup server to throw something like this and as low power as it is. So something I'm considering for 2023. I'm trying to be I'm trying to, yes, this one does have a hard drive tray that would take a solid state, 2.5 inch solid state as well. I'm trying to be mindful of space considerations, and going to something like this for a backup server, even, versus a Dell small form factor desktop, this both uses less space and uses less power. So that will potentially be something that I consider for next year. And whether I just stick with a small SSD for booting and put actually a spinning disk in, I'm not entirely sure. The reason I'd consider putting in a spinning disk is because of the number of reads and writes, and just to have the thing potentially last a little longer. But we'll see. I'm just sort of in the early planning stages of thinking about that, but at the rate I've been going on this disc, this is only a 750 spinning disc, and I've still got space on the solid state. But the rate I've been going on this, I can go well into 2023 and still have space left. I just don't want to let it get full before I make a plan to move. So, have to rebuild my Zigman into the rack cabinet. I'm really behind. I know you've been planning for that for a while, so but hey, at least you're getting to spend some time with family, and that counts for something. But yeah, this is what I wanted to show. This 750 gig disk, it's saying at my current rate, I've still got a year and 11 days of backups to go. So, yeah, I tend to delete VMs that I'm not using so they don't take up backup space. But that's probably something I should take a look at again here before too much longer. I'm sure there's some that I've deleted off the Proxmox servers respectively, but not deleted out of the backup server. So, all right, on that note, I think I've talked enough for one day. We've got an hour and 15 minutes or thereabouts. And so, thank you all for watching. I appreciate all of your support over the last several years. Just for the sake of argument, I'm at 3,779 subscribers as of today. It actually bumped up 2 since before this stream started. Not going to hit 5,000 by the end of the year at this rate, but probably before the end of 2023, I'll be at my 5,000 subscribers. I'll be over 1 million views. Things are growing Maybe not at the rate they once were, but things are growing, and I'll take it. So, see what's going off here. So everybody enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you for watching once again, and I'll be back with more videos soon. Have a great one.